The Toyota MR2 is a two-seat, mid-engined, rear-wheel drive sports car produced by Toyota, from 1984 until July 2007 when production stopped in Japan. There are three different generations of the MR2, 1984 Euro 1989, with angular, origami-like lines, 1990 Euro 1999, which had styling that some compared to Ferrari sports cars, and 2000 Euro 2007, which somewhat resembled the Porsche Boxster. It was designed to be small, with an economical power plant, but sporty in style and handling. Basic design elements, such as MacPherson strut front and rear suspensions and transverse-mounted inline-four engines, are common to all three generations of MR2, though each generation differs greatly from the next in particulars. In Japan, it was exclusive to Toyota Japanese dealerships called Toyota Vista Store as an alternative to the Toyota Celica, which was exclusive to Toyota Corolla Store locations. Origins: the MR2's life began in 1976 when Toyota launched a design project with the goal of producing a car which would be enjoyable to drive, yet still provide good fuel economy. Initially, the purpose of the project was not to design a sports car. The actual design work began in 1979 when Akio Yoshida from Toyota's testing department started to evaluate different alternatives for engine placement and drive method. The choice was finally made to place the engine transversely in the middle of the car. The result was the first prototype in 1981, dubbed the SAX. From its base design, the car began evolving into an actual sports car, and further prototypes were tested intensely both in Japan and in California. A significant amount of testing was performed on actual race circuits such as Willow Springs, where former Formula One driver Dan Gurney tested the car. All three generations are in compliance with Japanese government regulations concerning exterior dimensions and engine displacement. It appeared around the same time as the Japanese competitors Honda CRX, the Mazda Miata, the Nissan EXA, the VW Scirocco and Fiat X1/9 from Europe, and the Pontiac Fiero and Ford Expressway from North America. Toyota made its SV3 concept car public in October 1983 at the Tokyo Motor Show, gathering a huge amount of publicity both from the press and the audience. The car, scheduled to be launched in the second quarter of 1984 in the Japanese market under the name MR2, was to become the first mass-produced mid-engined car to come from a Japanese manufacturer. In France the name was shortened to Mr. to avoid the similarity in pronunciation of MR2 with the French words ist maudit, meaning, it, is shitty. First generation. Toyota introduced the first generation MR2 in 1984, designating it the model code W10. When fitted with the 1.5-litre 3A engine, it was known as the AW10. Likewise, the 1.6-litre 4A version is identified by the AW11 code. The small and light MR2 was something no one had expected from Toyota, known for their economical and practical family cars. The two-seat MR2 was definitely not practical as a family car, nor was it intended to be, having been designed instead with style and sport as priorities. The moniker mid-engined runabout, two-seater was more than a marketing tool, it was the fundamental design philosophy. At its introduction in 1984, it won the Car of the Year Japan Award. The folded angular lines evoked origami paper sculpture. Other cars with a similar design concept including the Lancia Beta Monte Carlo, Fiat 10-1/9 and the exotic Lancia Stratos were all produced in the 70s and early 80s. The MR2's proportions closely mirrored those of the X1/9, although it was somewhat longer, as Toyota engineered the car to be able to accommodate a 2-litre engine. The most important features of the MR2 were its light body in Japan and 2,350 lb in the US, superior handling and lightly powered, small displacement engine. The car is often referred to as the AW11, referring to the chassis code of the most common 1.6-litre, A-engined versions. Some rumors have persisted that the MR2 was designed by Lotus. This is a reference to the Lotus M90 project, but this was scrapped after a single prototype was built. This used the same engine and gearbox as the MR2. At the time, Toyota, along with the Chapman family, was a major shareholder in Lotus, but General Motors later acquired majority control. However, the MR2's suspension and handling were designed by Toyota with the help of Lotus engineer Roger Becker. Toyota's cooperation with Lotus during the prototype phase can be seen in the AW11, and it owes much to Lotus's legendary sports cars of the 1960s and 1970s. Toyota's active suspension technology called TEMS was not installed. Built very strong, with 5 bulkheads, the MR2 was quite heavy for a two-seater of its size. As a powerplant, Toyota chose to use the naturally aspirated 4AGE 1587cc inline-four engine, a dual overhead cam, 4-valve per-cylinder motor, borrowed from the E80 series Corolla. This engine was also equipped with DENSO electronic port fuel injection and a variable intake geometry, giving the engine a maximum power output of 112 HP in the US, 128 HP in the UK, 116 or 124 PS in Europe, 118 HP in Australia and 130 PS in Japan. Japanese models were later downrated to 120 PS. The engine had already been introduced earlier on the A86 Corolla, gathering a lot of positive publicity. A 5-speed manual transmission was standard and a 4-speed automatic was optional. Road tests delivered 0 to 60 miles per hour times in the mid to high 8-second range, and 1/4 mile times in the mid to high 16-second range, significantly faster than the 4-cylinder Pontiac Fiero or Fiat X1/9. In the home market, the AW10 base model was offered, which used the more economical 1452cc 3AU engine rated at 61 kilowatts, but it attracted few buyers. In 1987, Toyota introduced a supercharged engine for the MR2. Based on the same block and head, the 4AGZE was equipped with a small Roadster-type supercharger and a Denso intercooler. TVS was eliminated and the compression ratio was lowered to 8:1. It produced 145 horsepower and 140 pound-feet and accelerated the small car from 0 to 100 km per hour in 6.5 to 7.0s. The supercharger was belt-driven but actuated by an electromagnetic clutch, so that it would not be driven except when needed, increasing fuel economy. Curb weight increased to as much as 2,494 pounds for supercharged models, due to the weight of the supercharger equipment and a new, stronger transmission. A fuel selector switch was also added in some markets, to allow the car to run on regular unleaded if required to. In addition to the new engine, the MR2 SE was also equipped with stiffer springs, and received special teardrop aluminium wheels. The engine cover had 2 raised vents that visually distinguished it from the naturally aspirated models. It was also labeled supercharged on the rear trunk and body moldings behind both doors. This model was never offered in European or Australian markets, although some cars were privately imported. Changes by year: 1986. T-bar roof option available in Japan, revised transmission, color-keyed bumpers, side stripes, side skirts available, leather interior becomes an option, rear anti-roll bar discontinued on North American models 1987. Supercharged model introduced in Japan, offered with 4-speed AT or 5-speed MT, T-bar roof available in North America and Europe, slight underbody changes, revised rear suspension and larger brake rotors, new front lip, new tail lights for North America, naturally aspirated 4AGE rated at 115 horsepower in America, air filter relocated to the trunk, new center console, door panels, steering wheel, gauge cluster markings, and seat colors 1988. Supercharged model available in North America. 1989. Incandescent third brake lamp replaced by LED strip integrated into the rear spoiler, North American supercharged models equipped with rear anti-roll bar. The MR2's legacy. The press received the AW11 with open arms and praised its innovation, great feeling, and responsive engine. American car magazines Road and Track and Car and Driver both chose the MR2 on their lists of 10 best cars, which included some tough competition, such as the Ferrari Testarossa. The Australian Wheels magazine chose the 1988 MR2 as its favourite sports car. The MR2 was Motor Trend's Import Car of the Year for 1985. The MR2 was also on Car and Driver magazine's 10 Best list for 1986 and 1987. In 2004, Sports Car International ranked the MR2 number 8 on the list of top sports cars of the 1980s. In January 1989, Toyota produced a final run of fully optioned Super Edition MR2S. The Super Edition included all the extras of the G Limited models along with extra features such as a MO commission steering wheel and gear knob, Recaro Milano seats with matching door panels, and Super Edition decals on the rear visor and side stripes. Super Edition cars were sold in special midnight blue or white gold two-tone paint. 270 were produced in each color. Popular swaps. The MR2 MKI still enjoys a fan base to this day. Its twin-cam 1600cc engine has potential, but its power has since been surpassed. Many enthusiasts have decided to turbocharge the engine as an upgrade, while others have decided to bypass this route and simply swap the engine out entirely. Popular swaps include both the 4th generation 4AGE twin-cam 20-valve silver and black tops, the MR2 MK2's 3SGTE and the Beam's 3SGE engines, and the supercharged 4AG ZE 16-valve engines typically found in supercharged MR2s. Recently, some enthusiasts are choosing to go with V6 engines found in the Toyota Camry and other models. Toyota 222D Rally Car. While Toyota's front-engine, rear-drive Celica rally cars proved dominant in the African Group B rallies of the 1980s, they were at a disadvantage on the twistier European stages. Thus, in 1985 Toyota Team Europe started a rally project codenamed 222D based on the MR2, for competition in Group S and potentially Group B as well. Though somewhat similar on the outside, it's clear that it shared very little with the production car. Little is known about this project because it never competed. With Group B cancelled in 1986, the proposed Group S regulations suffered the same fate, and the car was reduced to a museum piece. During a surprise appearance at the 2006 Goodwood Festival of Speed, Toyota drove and displayed a black 222D. The race-ready car weighed around 750 kilograms and its transverse-mounted, 4-cylinder, turbocharged engine was reported to produce as much as 750 horsepower. A V6-powered prototype was also rumored to exist, but has never been seen in public. Second generation, the MR2 went through a complete redesign in 1989. The new car was larger and weighed 350 pounds to 400 pounds more than its predecessor. The body styling was now much more rounded and streamlined, bearing a resemblance to both the Ferrari 348 and the Ferrari F355. Because of this, the new MR2 was labeled by some as the poor man's Ferrari. Despite this, the new look was generally well received, and undoubtedly helped sales. Japanese market trim levels, G with an NA 2.0 L3SGE engine producing 165 PS. With an AT standard and an optional MT. The G was the base model of the SW20 lineup. Standard features included, climate control, electric mirrors, and fabric door seat trim. G Limited with the NA 2.0 L3SGE engine. An AT was standard or an MT was optional. The G Limited was the higher specification naturally aspirated SW20. Additional standard features, electric folding mirrors, steering fog lamps, and rear spoiler. GTS with a turbocharged 2.0 L3SGTE engine producing 221 PS. An MT was the only choice. The GTS had the same standard features as the G Limited. GT with the turbocharged 2.0 L3SGTE engine and manual transmission. The GT was considered as the luxury specification in the SW20 lineup and had Alcantara leather door and seat trim in addition to G Limited standard features. All Japanese market cars came equipped with electronic climate control featuring two-stage air conditioning. European market trim levels, coupe with the NA 2.0 L3 SFE engine producing 138 HP. This model had no rear spoiler or front fog lights. GT Coupe with the NA 2.0 L3 SGE engine producing 154 metric horsepower. GT Bar with the NA 2.0 L3 SGE engine. Options included as standard were full leather seats, door cards and the premium 8-speaker audio system. There were no turbo models officially offered to the European market. However, many Japanese models were sold via the grey market. US market trim levels, MR2 with a NA 2.2 L5 SFE engine producing 130 HP and offered with a 4-speed AT or 5-speed MT. MR2 Turbo with a turbocharged 2.0 L3 SGTE engine producing 200 HP, offered only with a 5-speed MT. There are many subtle visual differences between the normally aspirated and turbocharged models, including the turbo emblem on the rear trunk, twin CAM16 turbo decal above the side intake, a fiberglass engine lid with raised vents, fog lights, and an added interior center storage compartment located between the two seats. All SW20 MR2s came with a staggered wheel setup, with wider wheels and tires in the rear than in the front. Mechanical differences on the turbo models include, but are not limited to, 3 SGTE engine with associated air-to-air intercooler and different exhaust configuration. Stronger and heavier E153 gearbox with different ratios and stronger axles. Larger fuel pump and radiator. Models with 3 SGE and 3 SGTE engines had twin-piston front brake calipers. Models with a 5 SFE engine had only single-piston calipers. The US market MR2 turbo model was able to accelerate from 0 to 60 in 6.1 seconds and finish the 1/4 mile in 14.7 seconds. A Japanese market 1995 Rev 3 GT Turbo was timed by best motoring at 14.227 seconds in the 1/4 mile. Revisions and model year changes. The second-generation MR2 underwent a variety of changes during its 10 years of production, grouped in 4 different periods, January 1992 to October 1993. Fitment of a catalytic converter, lowering the power to 156 bhp. Revised rear suspension with longer toe links, revised front suspension which removed caster angle adjustment, larger front lip, 15-inch wheels and wider tires on all models, larger brakes, shorter shift lever and smaller knob, viscous LSD option, upgraded transmission synchronizers. US turbo models now only sold with T-bar roof, EBFD and TC added as options on Japanese market models NOV 1993 and later. European and Japanese market 3 SGE now rated at 173 bhp, American market 5 SFE now rated at 135 HP, Japanese market 3 SGTE now rated at 245 PS, round tail lights, prior 3-piece rear wing replaced with revised 1-piece, color-coded center panel, front lip and side skirts. Passenger airbag, viscous LSD added as standard in Japanese market turbo models, Japanese market E153 gearbox revised with upgraded synchros, cruise control no longer an option on Japanese market models, upgrades made to ABS system, which now induced an acceleration sensor located behind the gear stick, strengthening pieces added to rear strut towers. American sales cease in 1995. Turbo models are not offered in California emission states after 19,941,996. Fender-mounted turn signals on all models, 5-spoke alloys featured diamond-cut faces, passenger airbag added as an option in Japanese market, revisions to ABS system, European 3SGE downrated to 168 bhp due to the introduction of EGR. Unavailable in North America 1998. Clear fender-mounted turn signals, new 15-inch wheels featuring narrower spokes, adjustable rear spoiler, revised from the earlier versions, red rings around gauges, red stitching on leather shift knob. Japan receives the new beams 3SGE rated at 200 off changes to the suspension geometry, tire sizes and power steering in January of 1992 were made in response to journalist reports that the MR2 was prone to snap oversteer. As a counterpoint to the snap-oversteer phenomenon of the MR2, other journalists point out that most mid-engine and rear-engine sports and supercars exhibit similar behavior, and that a change to the driver's response to oversteer is really the solution. In any car, braking shifts the weight forward, and acceleration to the rear. When drivers enter a corner with too much speed, and lift the throttle mid-corner, the weight transfers forward, causing the rear tires to lose traction, which can result in a spin. When improper steering inputs were made attempting to correct this non-power on oversteer, the rear of the MR2 would swing one way, then wildly the other, thus the term snap oversteer. Toyota elected to change the MR2 suspension and tires to reduce the likelihood that this would occur, though many drivers would lament the change and claim that it neutered the sharp edge the MR2 was known for. Toyota claimed that the changes were made for drivers whose reflexes were not those of Formula One drivers. TRD 2000 GT. In 1998, Toyota Racing Development offered an official kit body conversion and tuning program for MR2 owners to transform their existing SW20 MR2 into a wide-body TRD 2000 GT replica car. This was to pay homage to the TRD 2000 GT wins in the GTC Japanese Racing Series, since the TRD 2000 GT Racing Series cars were based on the SW20 floor pan. The TRD 2000 GT body kit widened the MR2 by a total of 102 mm. Prior to MR2s being fitted with the TRD 2000 GT body kit, TRD had its customers select which additional engine, suspension, wheel, and interior upgrades they wanted. For these reasons, no two TRD 2000 GT MR2s are alike. It is rumored that at least one was built to produce up to 370 kW, whereas some others had few modifications to their engines. Surprisingly, not all TRD 2000 GT MR2s were turbocharged. For example, TRD 2000 GT number 001 came with a naturally aspirated 2.2L engine. In order to ensure exclusivity, a high price tag was charged and total of just 35 factory car conversions were completed by Toyota Technocraft Limited. Each official Technocraft converted car was made using lightweight fiberglass components and reclassified as completely new cars. The Toyota Technocraft Limited TRD 2000 GT had a 60 mm wider front and rear track. Virtually every car converted also had other TRD parts fitted too, including extensive changes to both the suspension and engine. Most cars left the factory making more power due to TRD bolt-ons, some cars even left the factory boasting up to 500 metric horsepower and less than 1100 kg for a very impressive power-to-weight ratio. While TRD Japan only offered a small number of kits with all body parts required for third-party conversion, Toyota Technocraft Limited offered complete car conversions. Apart from the cars listed on the TRD 2000 GT register, it is unknown how many original Toyota Technocraft Limited cars still exist today, but it is rumored that approximately 10 conversion kits were imported from TRD Japan into the US for conversions. In many respects, the extended body can be compared to that of a Porsche turbo wide body. The car's width is extended and body dimensions dramatically changing the car's overall visuals. Very little is known about these cars outside of Japan. SW20 Spider. Between 1996 and 1999, Toyota Technocraft produced 91 MKII SW20 MR2 Spiders. These cars featured a retractable, cloth soft-top roof, wingless trunk lid, and an engine lid that was unique to the SW20 Spider. Most of these cars were automatics and nearly all of them sported a naturally aspirated engine. Interestingly, Toyota decided against putting its name or logo on these cars as a result of its desire to distance itself from cars that featured leaky roofs. Most of the Spiders came in lucerne silver with a blue side molding and featured black and blue accented cloth seats. Several of these cars have been imported into the UK. Motorsport, Le Mans, SARD MC8R. The SARD MC8R was a modified and lengthened version of the SW20 built for GT racing by Toyota's works team SARD. The MC8 housed a twin-turbo version of the 4.0-litre Toyota 1UZ V8 producing 600 bhp. Eligible for the GT1 category, the MC8 lacked pace against the new generation sports cars and homologation specials such as Porsche 911 GT1, but did compete alongside a similarly modified Toyota Supra. One MC8 road car was built in order to meet homologation requirements, but its current whereabouts are unknown. 1995 and 1996. The MC8 made its first outing in the 1995 24 Hours of Le Mans piloted by inline-four to copyright, Kenny Akison, and Tomiko Yoshikawa. It retired after 14 laps. Later that year the car attempted the 1,000 km Suzuka, this time managing to finish 26th overall. One MC8 was entered in the 1996 24 Hours of Le Mans, piloted by Masanori Sakiya, Hidetoshi Mitsusada, and Masami Kageyama. The team qualified 37th and finished 24th, second to last of finishes 1997. The team also entered the 1997 24 Hours of Le Mans, but driver Olivier Giraud failed to make it past pre-qualifying. Two cars were also entered in the FIA GT Championship round at the 1997 Suzuka 1,000 km, but neither car managed to finish. It was replaced for the following year with the Toyota GT1. Juan Fangio and a teammate drove a pair of turbo MR2s with a 1-2 finish against Porsche competition. They had lapped the Porsches during the race. Japanese Grand Touring Championship, 1998. Team Taisen Jr. with Tsuchiya campaigned a Toyota MR2 powered by the factory 3S GTE powerplant in the 1998 JGTC season. Kiichi Suzuki and Shingo Taki drove 5 class victories in 7 races, winning the team's championship and tying for the Drivers' Championship 1999. For following year, Team Taisen Jr. moved to a Porsche chassis in GT300. While Momocourse Racing Team with Tsuchiya campaigned another Toyota MR2 and won both championships. Morio Nitta and Shinichi Takagi drove to 1 victory, 2 second places, and 1 third place to secure the team's championship, with Nitta winning the Drivers' Championship by just 1 point over the Nismo Silvia that was driven by Takeshi Tsuchiya and Yuji Ide. Momocourse Racing would move to the Mr. S chassis for the 2000 season, marking the end of the SW20's participation in JGTC. Third generation. The third generation MR2 had 3 different names, depending on country. Toyota Mr. S in Japan, Toyota MR2 Spider in the US, and the Toyota MR2 Roadster in Europe. With the previous MR2 having been in the market for almost 10 years, the newest MR2 took a drastically different approach than the outgoing model. The new MR2 was a part of Toyota Project Genesis, a plan to attract buyers from the younger age bracket in an effort to increase sales in the US. The most obvious change was the switch from a hard-top open-roof option to a true convertible soft-top, giving the car the Spider designation. Many claim that this car was inspired by Porsche Boxster, which was released in 1996, due to its similar appearance. However, the first prototype of Mr. S appeared in 1997 at the Tokyo Motor Show, which had slightly more angled and rigid appearance than the current production model, which included additional curves for a more aerodynamic and appealing look. The MR2 Spider chief engineer Haruna Ishirateri said, "First, we wanted true driver enjoyment, blending good movement, low inertia and light weight. Then, a long wheelbase to achieve high stability and fresh new styling. A mid-engine designed to create excellent handling and steering without the weight of the engine up front. A body structure as simple as possible to allow for easy customizing, and low cost to the consumer." The only engine available for the ZZW30 was the all-aluminium 1ZZFED, a 1794cc inline-four. Like its predecessors, the engine used dual overhead camshafts and 16 valves. The intake camshaft timing was adjustable via the VVTi system, which was introduced earlier on the 1998 MR2 in some markets. Unlike its predecessors, however, the engine was placed onto the car the other way round, with the exhaust manifold towards the rear of the car instead of towards the front. The 138 HP maximum power was quite a drop from the previous generation, but thanks to the lightness of the car it could still move quite quickly, accelerating from 0 to 100 km/h in 6.8 to 8.7 as depending on the transmission option, the sequential manual being unable to launch and shift as quickly as the clutch-operated manual. Curb weight was 2,195 pounds for manual transmission models. In addition to the 5-speed manual transmission, a 6-speed manual or 6-speed sequential manual transmission was also available starting in 2002. SMT is standard feature in Australian market. However, air conditioning was optional. After 2003, a 6-speed SMT was an option. The Summit had no conventional H-pattern shift lever or clutch pedal. The driver could shift gears by tapping the shift lever forward or backward or by pressing steering wheel-mounted buttons. Clutch engagement is automatic, and the car will automatically shift to neutral when stopping. Cruise control was never offered with the manual transmission, but was standard for SMT cars. The MR2 Spider was also distinguished from most of its competition by a standard equipment heated glass rear window. At the time of its debut, most convertibles were still using a plastic rear window. A hardtop was also available from Toyota in Japan and Europe, though it was expensive. Introduction configuration and changes by year. The Mr. S was originally introduced in October 1999 to the Japanese consumer markets in 3 distinct trim models, the B, the Standard, and the S. The S trim level included power windows, locks, mirrors, AM/CD radio, cloth seats, tilt steering wheel, and alloy wheels. In March 2000, the car was introduced in the US and Europe as a monospec level, which included the same features as Japan's S trim level. 2002. 5-speed sequential manual transmission introduced, MR2 Spider introduced in Australia. SMT is the only available transmission 2003. New paint colors, new front and rear fascias, standard fog lights, power antennae, and color-matched side air intakes, 16-inch rear wheels with larger tires, new seats, slight changes to the gauge cluster and interior. Sequential manual transmission now has 6 forward gears and faster shifting, new springs, dampers, and a new underbody brace 2004. Torsen limited slip differential available as an option, strengthened underbody for crash intrusion protection, greater curb weight, ride height increased approximately 1 inch in all markets 2005. 6-disc and CD player standard, last year of sales in North America 2007. Last year of sales, Special V Edition, and TF300 editions sold only in the United Kingdom. Performance and handling. The feedbacks for the new model was somewhat mixed. Some liked its all-new design concept, while the fans of the SW20 would have liked it to continue along the path of the previous model. All agreed, however, that the ZZW30 had nearly perfect handling. The ZZW30 is considered to be the best handling MR2 in both overall limit and controllability. For example, Tiffany Adele, a very experienced race driver and the former host of the BBC TV show Fifth Gear, praised the handling of the ZZW30. Although some complained of the relative lack of power, many owners have opted to switch out the 1ZZFE engine in exchange for the 192 PS2 ZZGE found in the USDM Celica, USDM Toyota Corolla XRS, USDM Toyota Matrix XRS, Pontiac Vibe GT, AUDM Toyota Celica SX and ZR, AUDM Toyota Corolla Sportivo, EDM Toyota Corolla Run X and Lotus Elise. Motorsport. Between 2000 to 2008, several teams campaigned the Mr. S in Super GT. In 2002, Morio Nitta and Shinichi Takagi shared the GT300 Drivers' Championship in the ARTA Mr. S. Team Reckless Mr. S won both Drivers' and Teams' Championships in 2005, driven by Kota Sasaki and Tetsuya Yamano. For 2007, Kazuya Oshima and Hiroaki Ishiura shared the Drivers' Championship in the Toy Story APR Mr. S, with wins at Okayama and Sepang, but lost the team's championship by 6 points to the Muoncraft Shiden prototype racer of Team Priva copyrightee Kenzo Asset Shiden. The end of the Spider. In July 2004, Toyota announced that sales of the MR2 would be discontinued in the US at the end of the 2005 model year because of increasing competition and lack of sales. The ZZW30 sold 7,233 units in its debut year, falling to just 901 for the 2005 model, for a total of 27,941 through its 6 years of production in the US. The 2005 model year was the last for the MR2 in the US. While the MR2 Spider was not sold after 2005 in the US, it was offered in Japan, Mexico, and Europe until 2007. Production of the car ceased permanently in July 2007. Special editions. As a farewell to the MR2, Toyota produced 1,000 limited production V-Edition cars for Japan and the UK. They are distinguished by different color wheels, titanium interior accents, minor body changes, a helical limited slip differential, and different steering wheel trim. Also for model year 2007, the United Kingdom received 300 models in a special numbered TF300 series. A special 182 bhp turbocharged variant called the TTE Turbo was available as a dealer-installed package. This package was also available for fitting to customer MR2s. VM180 Zagato. The Toyota VM180 Zagato was designed by Zagato, based on the Mr. S, and built at Toyota Modelista International for sale in Japan only through the Toyota Vista dealer network. It was first shown on January 10, 2001 in Tokyo and then at the February 2001 Geneva Motor Show. The body panels are attached to the original Mr. S chassis, as can be seen by the recess around the door handles. The stock engine was tuned to produce 155 bhp. References: 2000 to 2005 MR2 Spider, year-to-year changes. Consumer Guide Automotive. Retrieved March 5, 2012. External links: Official Toyota MR2 site, UK, Autosigns MR2 Review, MR2 Turbo Review.